The stabbing at Mililani High School this morning undoubtedly has shaken the entire community. Joining us now in studio to discuss how parents can talk about today's incident with their kids, we have Brian Cano, a therapist with Honolulu Psychology Collective. Brian, let's jump right in. What conversations do you think needs to be had tonight between parents and their children?
Well, I think it would be great for parents to ask their kids, what is it like on their school campus? Do they ever see incidents of dating violence or inappropriate violent behaviors?
Okay. How can parents go about having those conversations?
I think it's easiest when a parent would not directly question a child about what's happening in their life as much as talk about what's happening on the campus or maybe with their friends. Then it's a lot more easy for that student to speak up.
Because this is a hard topic to bring up in general with kids when a traumatic event like this does happen, correct?
Yeah, and I think that what's good for parents to think about when their children are younger is to start having these kinds of talks so that, not wait until they're 16 or 17 to try and have a serious heart-to-heart talk. When children are young, that's a good time to, regularly check in with them, have this kind of talk about what's happening on campus. So when something serious happens, they already have an ongoing dialogue.
So we're talking about how parents can check in to see if their child is emotionally doing okay. How do they bring that up? What kinds of things should they say to talk about that?
Just, ask open-ended questions and just, check in with them, see what they say. But a parent really should be looking for different signs, like, has there been a real change in behavior, a drop in grades, could their child be isolating from their friends and family, maybe even self-harm behaviors. These kinds of things are warning signs that parents can look out for.
Okay, sounds good. I think we do have a technical issue. I think your mic might have fallen, so sorry to our viewers if it was a little scratchy. I don't know if we can try to fix that, and then maybe we can come out later in the newscast and finish our conversation. If you are listening and it's a little bit scratchy, we're just having a little bit of a technical issue with our mic, so do we think we can get it?
There we go.
We got it. Okay, sorry about that. I know this is an important topic, so I want to make sure we can hear you loud and clear. Got our mic fixed?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. I want to ask you a couple more questions
Sure.
while we have the mic problem solved. So, our police sources, people we've talked to, said that the suspect wanted to have a relationship with the 16-year-old girl, and that may have sparked instigated the stabbing. So are there warning signs that parents can look out for?
I think so, and then really a parent should talk to their children about what the warning signs are. So, like abusive language, even something as simple as how an individual treats an animal or a pet. There are all kinds of signs that they should be looking for. Any kind of pushing, shoving, any kind of questionable behavior should be real red flags that should be watched for.
Okay, and once you see those red flags, then what?
Well, I mean, if a child has a relationship with their parent, then bring those to their parent. Sometimes it's not the parent. It may be like someone at church or an adult friend, uncle or auntie, and, bring it to someone like that. Those kinds of instances where somebody speaks out, that can really save people's lives.
Thank you so much for joining us, Brian. Thank
you
for doing this, and thank you all for bearing with us as we figure out our technical issues. Howard, send it back to you.